What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Dana White creating boxing league under TKO. For years, Dana White has talked about how he wants to get into the boxing business, typically talking about this after ranting about how boxing's apparently been ruined by promoters. But increasingly, it's looking like we could see White finally take the plunge. If you followed White over the years, you know that he's a huge boxing fan and that his initial foray into fighting was by training in boxing. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. More recently, the New York Times reported that the parent company of the UFC, TKO, is in talks to partner with Turkey Al Sheikh to create a new boxing league. If you follow the sweet science, you know that Al Sheikh and Saudi Arabia's public investment fund have forked over huge sums of cash in recent years to put together some massive boxing matches, many of which have taken place in Riyadh. According to the report, White would play a management role in the league. The New York Times story also includes the following statement regarding a quote, deal for what would be a new competition featuring up-and-coming boxers tied exclusively to the league. Could be announced within weeks, unquote. In addition to White's well-documented comments about his interest in boxing, he's been documented hanging out with Al Sheikh. Further, recently, TKO COO Mark Shapiro said the following at a communications conference. Boxing is something we would do organically, so nothing to buy, just something we'd start up and likely take a partner from the Middle East that would serve as an investment partner for us, so that's something we're exploring right now, nothing to announce. So those comments in connection with this recent report certainly do point to TKO getting into the boxing business soon. But what do you think of all this news? And do you want to see it happen? Islam Makhachev likely to fight winner of Belal versus Shavkat than Ilia Topuria. Although Ilia Topuria has repeatedly talked about moving up to lightweight, and as a result, the MMA world is buzzing about the possibility of him fighting Islam Makhachev, don't bet the farm on that fight happening yet. Makhachev continues to prepare for his rematch with Arman Tsarukyan, which is set to take place on January 18th in Inglewood. Although Tsarukyan pushed Islam in their first encounter, and many believe he'll do so again, talk about Islam's next fight continues to make headlines. Similar to Topuria, Makhachev has also talked extensively about moving up a weight division in pursuit of a second title. So when he recently appeared on the Shaq Fu podcast, the lightweight champion was asked about whether he would rather fight the winner of Belal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov or Topuria. Makhachev said this, I think the second one. Topuria doesn't make sense. For what? For belt? For money? I have money. I need the second belt. Now, the one disclaimer here is that Makhachev has also said that he won't fight Muhammad, since the welterweight champion has trained with Islam and his team. But could that change if Muhammad does get by Rakhmonov and Makhachev beats Tsarukyan? It seems kind of unlikely, but you never know. Makhachev has also said he only plans to fight a couple more years, and it seems clear a second belt, rather than making stacks of cash for a fight with Topuria, is the top priority. But what would you rather see? Islam move up to challenge for the welterweight crown, or Makhachev versus the current featherweight king? Alex Pereira next UFC fight revealed. For months, Nurmagomedov has been on a collision course with Alex Pereira, and he's repeatedly warned Poatan he's coming for the light heavyweight crown. Well, as the 2025 year kicks off, more signs are pointing to that fight materializing soon. On account of Ankalaev's 13-fight undefeated streak, the consensus has been it's just a matter of time before the Dagestani fighter gets his shot at Pereira. In fact, after he put Johnny Walker away last January, many believed that a fight with Poatan would be scheduled, but that didn't happen, and Ankalaev was tapped to fight Alexander Rakic in October. Although that fight didn't hype the masses, Ankalaev did win, and so talk about him fighting Pereira next spiked all over again. Even if the champion recently claimed Ankalaev would not be next, well, more recently, Ariel Helwani reported this. Alex Pereira's next opponent will be Magomed Ankalaev per sources. That's the plan. No plans of him moving to heavyweight anytime soon. In fact, per his team, he'll need at least 6 months to move up the way they want him to. And why were they talking about heavyweight? No, it wasn't because Pereira has previously said he's interested in moving up to heavyweight to pursue another belt. It was because a Brazilian MMA content creator, Lerta Viana, apparently reported it was rumored Pereira could fight Alexander Volkov at UFC 313. MMA On Point had reposted that report, which drew cries of fake news. But it was pointed out that Forbes had also reported the rumor. Yahoo Sports' Kevin Iola was also quick to shut down the report. No truth to the rumor of Pereira versus Volkov. Zero. Move on. All this aside, what is clear is that Pereira is continuing to work hard on developing his grappling and ground game. Recently, a video clip was shared out of him rolling with UFC middleweight contender Caio Borralho, who is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It'll be interesting to see if Poatan needs to put his jiu-jitsu skills to work against Ankalaev. Okay, up next, huge update to UFC 311. The highly anticipated UFC 311 card is scheduled for next weekend, and as it stands right now, it'll still take place in Inglewood, California, despite the fires that continue to ravage the Los Angeles area. Recently, MMA reporter Chisanga Malara reached out to the California Athletic Commission to see if UFC 311 was still proceeding at its booked venue, the Intuit Dome. The commission released this statement: "We are watching the ongoing wildfires and the subsequent emergency and disaster response in the Los Angeles area. Our hearts are with the residents of the region, and we appreciate the efforts of first responders in keeping the community safe. At this time, no decisions have been made about moving UFC 311, but we will continue to work with state and local officials and the UFC to determine the best course of action." According to a press release from the stadium, they posted saying, "We will welcome UFC 311 on Saturday, January 18th. Ariel Helwani also did some digging into the situation, and he reported this via social media. UFC has had talks about the status of UFC 311 next weekend, I'm told. UFC 311 is currently slated for the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California. Obviously, that region is facing a devastating wildfire crisis at the moment. The NFL announced yesterday that they are moving the Rams-Vikings playoff game scheduled for Monday at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood to Glendale, Arizona. As of right now, 311 is staying at Intuit. The hope is it remains there, but they are monitoring and ready to move the card, if need be. No talks of delaying the card. Obviously, that call needs to happen soon. The event is 8 days away. Vegas would be the front runner. Worth noting, T-Mobile Arena is not booked next Saturday, January 18th. It goes without saying, but hopefully the fires are brought under control soon and the devastation that's hit the area comes to a halt. That said, it's also encouraging to hear that the T-Mobile Arena could be an option for UFC 311 if required. UFC Fight Updates. With the UFC's 2025 campaign officially kicking off this weekend, 3 more compelling fights have reportedly been added to the promotion's spring schedule. Jake Noker recently reported that sources have confirmed Diego Lopez and Yair Rodriguez are going to battle at the March 29th card in Mexico City. Lopez continues to punch his way into title contention at 145, as the Brazilian is coming off a decision victory over longtime contender Brian Ortega in September, which was Lopez's 5th straight victory. Rodriguez, meanwhile, is looking to get back on track as he's dropped back-to-back fights against Ortega and Alexander Volkanovski. Given Pantera is ranked number 5 and that Lopez is ranked number 3, this matchup makes a lot of sense. Recently, Gilbert Burns relayed that he was expecting the UFC to call him about a scrap with Michael Morales. Now, AG Fight is reporting that the matchup will be part of UFC 314, April 12th. Burns has dropped 3 straight fights, although they've come against top-tier fighters in Belal Muhammad, Jack Della Maddalena, and, most recently, Sean Brady. Morales, on the other hand, has yet to incur a loss. Since joining the UFC, he's won 5 in a row, and he's coming off a win over longtime contender Neil Magny. If Morales defeats Durinho, he'll almost certainly jump into the top 10 rankings. Currently, he's ranked number 12, and Burns is number 8. And Gaston Reyno is reporting that lightweights Jake Matthews and Francisco Prado will throw hands down under at UFC 312 February 8th. Australia's Matthews is coming off a decision victory over Philip Rowe last June, and he's gone 3-2 in his last 5 scraps. Prado dropped a decision loss to Daniel Zellweger in his last scrap, which went down in February. The lightweight has gone 1-2 so far in UFC action, so he could be in a must-win situation at UFC 312. Colby Covington sends a warning to Belal Muhammad. Colby Covington believes that he can become a UFC champion, and he called out Belal Muhammad for the welterweight title. Here's what Colby had to say to Belal.
DC was a champion at 41. I'm only 36 years old. No reason I can't be champion. Belal Muhammad, remember, can easily beat him. It's a good matchup. He's not going to take me down. He's not going to out-wrestle me. That. I will smack that dude silly. I know no one knows who he is, but they're going to know when he's on my highlight reel after I'm done with him.
Up next, Merab Dvalishvili reacts to teammate helping Umar Nurmagomedov. Merab Dvalishvili has fired plenty of verbal shots at Umar Nurmagomedov before and after they were booked to fight. So when it surfaced that one of Merab's former teammates is now training with Nurmagomedov, people likely expected more drama. Well, so far, it doesn't look like that situation is going to spike tensions too much. Recently, it was revealed that Merab's buddy and former teammate Magdi Amachov is training with Nurmagomedov and his team. But when Merab was asked by the Schmo about the situation, the bantamweight champion said this: "I love him and I did help him, but I didn't do it because I own him, you know? He's a big man and he can do whatever he wants. He's from Dagestan and I know he loves Islam Makhachev. I know he loves Khabib Nurmagomedov, of course Umar Nurmagomedov. They call each other Muslim brothers, and I'm not surprised, of course. That's his country, that's his friends. I mean, I will not do that, but I will also not judge him. I love him, and I understand this, and I'm not mad at him. That's okay. It'll of course be interesting to see if we hear anything more of this, and if we see Merab and Makhachev train together again. But if Merab, even if he's not too upset about what's transpired, that kinda seems unlikely. Now, let's take a look at Aljamain Sterling furious with fake MMA news. Like pretty much everything else these days, MMA is not immune to having unsubstantiated or even completely reports. But following a recent run of these, Aljamain Sterling is fed up. Recently, there's been a wave of, quote, reports about various fights being supposedly planned by the UFC or even booked. The problem has been, as noted, the reports have not been rooted in reality. Well, recently it was claimed by the real Ruben King on X that John Jones and Tom Aspinall have verbally agreed to fight in June. Sterling was quick to pile on the report, as well as the account holder. Why do you keep posting? Do you not want us to take this account serious? Sterling's fiery comment also prompted this response. He doesn't care, which is concerning, but shows the state of a lot of media. What do you make of the current state of MMA media? And do you think a lot of supposed reporters are deliberately sharing out fake news? A UFC 311 fight was canceled due to injury. Johnny Walker officially announced that he is out of his scheduled bout with Bogdan Guskov on January 18th due to a bad injury. While he didn't disclose what the injury was, he did say he's devastated and put in a lot of hard work for his training camp. Here's what Johnny had to say.
I've been pulled out by a bad injury next week, UFC 311. So I'm not gonna be competing. And I'm devastated, like a lot of hard work I put in, you know, a few months, train a lot. And I really wanna come back and, you know, do the show for you, but not this time. I wish Bogdan good luck. Hopefully he can find an opponent, because he probably put a lot of hard work as well. So hopefully he can find a replacement very soon. And thank you very much everybody that saying good things and positive things for me on all of the posts. I appreciate you guys. I know it's not good news, but I have to make a right decision and accept this and recover, come back strong, because now everybody know I'm dead now. So I'm a dad of Kyle. He's my little baby. I have to fight for them, for my family, and I have to put myself in the best position for come back strong and all, take step by step, and yeah, that's it. Sorry guys, but I'll be back stronger, heal as quick as I can, and come back to put the show on again.
Who should step in to replace Johnny Walker at UFC 311? Or should the UFC cancel this fight altogether? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.